So in this video, I'm going to cover Fitzpatrick pushing back against alleged anti-Israeli UN resolution and interfering with the course of international law against a country that is passing U.S. military tech to China and has been for a decade now, okay? So he's saying, quote, Israel and the United States share a special relationship. I would argue it's an abusive relationship is what I would say. But getting back to what he said, so he calls it a special relationship, cultivated and reaffirmed in word and action. Unfortunately, the current administration's recent failure to defend Israel from a one-sided initiative at the UN harms our critical alliance by breaking with decades of precedent. Okay, decades of precedent while they're passing our military tech to China, who is very close, very probably going to use it against us, okay? And supposedly undermining the prospect for productive negotiations between the Israelis and the Palestinians. What productive negotiations? A one-state solution that gets rid of any rights of the Palestinians? Is that the productive solution? The ethnic cleansing of Palestinians? Is that what Fitzpatrick supports? Okay. Support for a safe and secure Israel transcends political parties and should be the cornerstone of our Middle East policy, foreign policy, and our foreign policy must recognize that a solution to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict can only come about through direct bilateral negotiations between the two parties. Yes, but bilateral negotiations require bilateral negotiations. Okay? Now, this is what's funny. This dude was embedded in the Middle East. He was embedded in Operation Iraqi Freedom. He knows the situation. He's a former FBI agent, for God's sakes. He knows the situations, and I'm going to show you the situation he knows. So this is Israel passes U.S. military technology to China. This is from military.com. Okay? So the head of defense exports for the Israeli Defense Ministry resigned after a U.S. investigation concluded that technology, including a miniature refrigeration system manufactured by Rycor and used for missiles and in electro-optic equipment, was sent to China, according to the Israeli newspaper Ma'ariv. Another Israeli news site, Aretz Sheva, reports that the U.S. is concerned the technology could ultimately find its way to Iran, which last year sought to buy military equipment from China for its nuclear program. Rycor, on its company website, identifies a number of defense programs using its miniature cryo-coolers, including UAVs, so unmanned aerial vehicles, airborne enhanced vision systems, missile warning systems, handheld thermal imagers, and thermal weapons sights. So all of the money that the U.S. spends in research and development and implementation of our weapon systems is basically going to Israel and going to China. The Ma'ariv report identified the Israeli defense official as Meir Shalit and said he apologized to U.S. officials on a recent visit. Israel has a long record of getting U.S. military technology to China. Israel has a long record of getting U.S. military technology to China. This is the special relationship, I assume, that Mr. Fitzpatrick is talking about. In the early 1990s, then CIA Director James Woolsey told a Senate Government Affairs Committee that Israel had been selling U.S. secrets to China for about a decade. Okay, this is in the 1990s, so yeah, it's actually, 30 years now. Okay, so this decades-long love affair, this special abusive love affair that Fitzpatrick is talking about, with our most valuable ally, the only democracy in the Middle East, etc., that Fitzpatrick shills for, seems to be giving our military secrets to a very real potential enemy of ours, who could be giving that to other very real potential enemies of ours, such as Russia and such as China, okay? Well, I'm not just China, but it could be giving it to Russia, Iran, North Korea. Who does China give weapons to? Who does China give weapons technology to? Okay? This is what I don't grasp. So, he claims to be a conservative American. Now, this is why people like me have left conservatism. Is since the neocons kicked in, a lot of conservatism has never embraced Zionism until neoconservatism. Okay? It has never been a conservative issue to support Israel until neoconservatism. But how can you, as a government official and a former FBI agent, support a nation that is basically stealing U.S. technology that we're giving them to, quote, protect themselves from their neighbors like Iran, who very likely could be even getting the technology because they're allied with China, okay? But we're supporting a country that is passing our technology that is paid for with U.S. tax dollars money, U.S. taxpayers' money, for research, development, and implementation, and also U.S. lives that are going to be lost because these technologies are being passed on to potential enemies. Okay? And this is from a guy, Fitzpatrick, that was embedded in Operation Iraqi Freedom. He knows about Middle East. He knows about the Middle East. He had to be embedded with the Operation Iraqi Freedom moving forward. Now, this is a very important video that I want people to watch. This is from Forgotten History, the channel Forgotten History. I strongly suggest people subscribe. This is about the USS Liberty and the attack on the USS Liberty, which was a CIA intelligence gathering platform, monitored all transmissions from all sources involved in the 67 Six-Day War. Israeli progress was followed as well as the Arab coalition of Egypt, Syria, and Jordan, hosted by Colin Heaton. Forgotten History is a 10th Legion, blah, 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 blah. So I would strongly encourage people watch this video. I'm not going to talk about it in depth because somehow whenever I talk about the Liberty, my videos somehow get banned and I somehow get strikes. So you might have a question, who was Jonathan Pollard? Well, apparently he was spying on the United States and passing Arab classified information to the state of Israel. Okay? So he was a spy for a foreign nation in the United States, a U.S. citizen that committed treason against this republic and has been given a pass.
Mr. President, all that Jonathan and I are asking for is your compassion.
It was almost 30 years ago that an American naval aide was caught passing classified documents to Israel. Ronald Olive was an FBI agent who helped capture Jonathan Pollard.
When an individual decides to cross that line and betray their country, it is so hard. It's almost impossible to stop them.
Here's some background on a case that has long been a flashpoint of U.S.-Israel relations. Born in 1954 to a Jewish family, Mr. Pollard long admired Israel.
This guy wanted to be a spy from the beginning. He would play spy games. He would say that the Israeli Mossad was paying my salary. They're grooming me to work for the United States government. All fantasies of his spy imagination.
In 1984, his dreams became reality when, as an intelligence researcher, he had access to top-secret documents. He was caught 18 months later and soon became the only person in U.S. history to receive a life sentence for spying for an ally. In Israel, the issue has remained alive. In 1995, the Israeli government even granted Texas-born Mr. Pollard citizenship while he In 1995, the Israeli government even granted Texas-born Mr. Pollard citizenship while he remained in an American prison. In 1995, the Israeli government even granted Texas-born Mr. Pollard citizenship while he remained in an American prison.
I think that Pollard should have been released years ago already. He's not a murderer and he's not a killer. He was a spy.
The case
he committed an act of treason. Now, treason is punishable by life in prison or death. He committed an act of treason against the United States. So, is he a murderer? Perhaps. Who knows? Did what he pass cause us to lose standing in the Arab world? Did what he do cause us to have the situations we now have in the Middle East that have cost the lives of thousands of Americans fighting in wars against the Arab world that may have been unnecessary? Who knows? You can't predict what you don't know the outcome of.
Also has a resonance in Washington's intelligence community. The scandal created a lingering suspicion that Jews could hold dual loyalties and should not be trusted in sensitive posts.
It's about a disastrous story of literally the spy who never should have been.
However the Pollard affair turns out, it has briefly enlivened 9 months of difficult peace negotiations. His fate remains just one element of the complicated talks between U.S., Israeli, and Palestinian leaders.
So this is the nation that Mr. Fitzpatrick supports. So what exactly was the Lavon affair? Let's find out. Okay, this is the nation that Mr. Fitzpatrick supports. He doesn't support America, he supports this nation. Oh, apparently there's no sound. I should have watched it. So footage of Pinhas Lavon, the Israeli politician being filmed working at the desk. Lavon had been the Israeli defense minister just over 6 years earlier at the time of Operation Susanna, a botched false flag operation mounted by Israeli military intelligence in Egypt using Jewish Arab operatives. It targeted American and British establishments in Cairo. It targeted U.S. and British establishments in Cairo and Alexandria. The object was to blame Egyptian source and so pit the West against the government of Egypt. The object was to target the U.S. and British and blame it on Egypt to cause a war between the West and Egypt. Watch this video, read the description of the video. I fully encourage it. So who was Rachel Eileen Corey? She was born Rachel Corey on April 1979. She died at the age of 23 in the Gaza Strip. Okay, let's get to activities in the Palestinian terror. Okay, death. On March 16th, 2003, an Israeli Defense Forces was engaged in an operation involving the demolition of Palestinian houses in Rafah. Corey was part of a group of 3 British and 4 American ISM activists attempting to disrupt the IDF operation. Corey placed herself in the path of a Caterpillar armored bulldozer, in the area, and was run over by the bulldozer and fatally injured. After she was injured, she was taken by Red Crescent, not by the Israelis, by Red Crescent, which is the Arab version of Red Cross, to a Palestinian hospital. Arriving at the hospital room, blah, 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 still alive but in critical condition, she was declared dead. The events surrounding Corey's death are disputed, blah, 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 disputed, just like the USS Liberty is disputed, okay? So who is Cynthia McKinney? This is Cynthia McKinney. She was a member of the U.S. House of Representatives. Okay, her political affiliations are Democratic and Green. Early life education, between arms, blah, 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 Green presidential, the Free Gaza movement. On December 30th, McKinney was aboard the ship Dignity when it attempted to enter Gaza Strip, blah, 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 blah. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. McKinney was... okay, so this is what you have to understand. McKinney was held at the Givon Immigration Detention Center in Ramallah until her release on July 5th. McKinney initially refused to sign the deportation papers because they were written in Hebrew and that the papers would require them to admit that they were in violation of Israel's blockade, which they denied. So she was saying, no, we were not violating your blockade. The Palestinian Chronicle reports that such an agreement to the offshore blockade never happened. No Palestinians have agreed, nor did the international community agree to the blockade of Gaza. So the Palestinians didn't agree, nor did the international community. It was in violation of international law, most likely. And this is why the UN has taken, quote, anti-Israeli actions, okay? On June 17th, 2009, a group of United Nations agencies and non-governmental organizations called for an end to Israel's blockade. So this is the United Nations saying, you got to stop blocking the Gaza Strip, and they refuse. On July 7th, 2009, McKinney was deported to the United States. The Israeli government indicated it would deliver the supplies via land. Later activities: McKinney appeared on state-run television in Libya and stated that the United States' participation in the war and the military intervention in 2011 Libyan war was not what the people of the United States stand for, and it's not what African Americans stand for. Because you have to remember, this was when Obama was president, okay? On a previous visit to Libya, she was able to learn about the Green Book and the form of direct democracy that was advocated in the Green Book. Moving forward. So why would a former FBI agent, okay, why would a former FBI agent support a country that seems so antagonistic towards the United States? Okay, well, let's take a look here. So who donated to his campaign? Well, we have Welsh Carson, Marine Engineers, Blue Cross, Ballots, FARB, retired, real estate, health professionals, large individuals, small individuals, kind of self-financing. Where is it? So this might explain a little bit of it, because he received $30,600 in pro-Israel campaign contributions. That might explain a little bit of it. Maybe. And then foreign and defense policy, $1,000. Okay. Gun control, $15,000. That could explain why he seems to be pro-gun control. Okay. Keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. And that's all for this video.